The dinner that changed everything. My name is Teresa Myers. I'm 33 years old, and the moment I stood up from that dinner table smiling, everyone in the room knew something had shifted forever. My husband had just announced in front of both our families that his mother was moving into my house. Not our house, my house. The one my parents spent 20 years saving to buy for me. The one with my maiden name on the deed. The one he had no legal claim to, no matter how many times he tried to say otherwise. And somehow, without asking me, he'd already given his mother a key, given her a bedroom, and funneled 18,000 euros of our money into her account through a fake company. He looked at me like he expected me to smile and go along with it. What happened next cost him his marriage, his mother's plan, and his sister's free ride. But to understand that dinner, I have to take you back 6 months. I'm a nurse practitioner at a hospital in the West Midlands. I work 3 12-hour night shifts a week, sometimes more when staffing gets tight. I love my job. I'm good in chaos. I know how to stay calm when everyone else is falling apart. But being the calm one at work meant I became the calm one everywhere else. At home, I handled everything. Bills, groceries, meal prep, appointments, car maintenance, insurance paperwork. If something needed attention, I took care of it. For a long time, I told myself that meant I was capable, strong, reliable. What I didn't realize was that I'd slowly become the only adult fully running the household. My husband, Grant, worked as a regional sales manager for a building materials company. He made good money, had steady hours, and could charm just about anyone in 5 minutes flat. I married him at 28, he was 30. The first year felt easy, peaceful, the kind of marriage that makes you believe you chose well. And then there was the house. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a quiet neighborhood just south of Birmingham, a maple tree in the front garden, and a little back patio where I used to drink coffee before sunrise. It wasn't just property to me. It was security. It was a gift built out of my parents' sacrifice. My father, Warren, worked as a plumber for 35 years, not the owner of some big company. I'm talking about the kind of man who crawled under houses at daybreak with a torch in his teeth and came home smelling like pipe, glue and sweat. My mother, June, worked a Tesco checkout for 22 years. They were never wealthy. They were disciplined. Every extra pound went into savings. 2 weeks before my wedding, they sat me down at their kitchen table. My dad slid a manila envelope towards me. Inside was the deed to that house, paid in full. The deed was in my maiden name, Teresa June Howren. There was also a notarized gift letter that made one thing crystal clear. The property was being given solely to me as my separate property. My mother cried. My father looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is yours. Not his, not anybody else's. Keep the paper safe." At the time, I thought he was being overly cautious. He wasn't. In the beginning, Grant was easy to adore. He remembered details. He knew my coffee order, my favorite song from nursing every school, meaningful the foods I decision hated. Somehow had to pass through his mother, Vivian. If she called, he answered. If we were discussing holiday dates, he wanted to check whether they worked for her first. If we were buying furniture, he wanted her opinion. He sent flowers to the hospital on my birthday. He called my parents mom and dad not long after we started dating. But charm only carries a person so far when it isn't backed by character. By our 2nd year of marriage, when I gently pointed that out, he reacted like I'd attacked him. She's my mother, Teresa. That was Grant's answer for everything. Then Vivian started visiting almost every weekend. At first, I didn't mind. She brought banana bread, she helped with dishes, she was pleasant enough. But after the 3rd weekend in a row, I realized something. Grant never asked me. He just informed me. Mom's coming Friday. One day I told him plainly, I'd appreciate being asked before people stay in my house. He frowned and said, she doesn't need an invitation. That was the first real crack. Vivian was 63, retired from working as a dental receptionist, and she carried the same heartbreak everywhere she went. More than 2 decades earlier, her husband had left her, and in the divorce, she lost almost everything, including the family home. Grant had been 12. His sister Courtney had been 5. I knew the story because Vivian told it often. Every Christmas, every family gathering, it was the wound that she never let heal. And over time, I began to realize she didn't just grieve the house she lost. She felt entitled to another one. By year 3 of my marriage, She'd started behaving like my home was an extension of her preferences. She criticized the wall color, suggested cabinet changes, rearranged things. One day I came home and found she'd replaced my living room. Curtains with cream lace ones she'd bought herself. Grant dismissed it. She's just trying to help. Then one afternoon, while we were alone in the kitchen, Vivian said the quiet part out loud. "You married into this family. The house came with you." I set down the dish towel and told her calmly, "No, the house didn't come with anyone. My parents bought it for me." She just smiled and walked away. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was a worldview. Grant's sister Courtney was worse in a different way. She was careless, entitled, and treated boundaries like suggestions. She'd come over unannounced, eat whatever she wanted, leave messes behind, wander through rooms like she lived there. One day I came home and found her in my office with her feet up on my desk, scrolling her phone. I called Grant immediately. He said, "It's our house, Teresa. Stop acting like it's only yours." So I put a keyed lock on my office door. He told me I was turning the house into a fortress. I told him to stop giving people access they hadn't earned. A few weeks later, after a brutal stretch at work, I came home and found the guest room transformed. Different bedding, a lamp I hadn't bought, a framed photo of Grant and Vivian on the dresser. Vivian's clothes were hanging in the wardrobe. Grant had quietly turned the guest room into his mother's room. When I confronted him, he called me a landlord instead of a wife. A few days after that, I opened the mail and found a locksmith receipt. Grant had made copies of the house key and given one to Vivian without telling me. So I changed every lock on the house. When Vivian showed up and couldn't get in, she called Grant in a panic. He looked at me, and I said exactly what needed saying. If she wants to come over, she can knock. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace in my own home. But Grant wasn't the kind of man who backed down cleanly. 2 weeks later, he brought home a smart lock. On the surface, it sounded reasonable. No more physical keys, everything managed through an app. I agreed on one condition. I would be the primary administrator and no one got access without my approval. He agreed.